Today on the 50-pound brain, we're back to working on Higgins, doing little stuff to get him ready to drive because he's registered and insured. Now we just need to get him on the road before the weather gets bad. So this is the oil pressure gauge, and it's got this adapter fitting that adapts from, it's really a kind of a reducer, I think, a number 4 to number 3 JIC. And what's happening is it's bottoming out on this jam nut that holds pretty much all the guts in the gauge. Can't be the cameraman and the hand model. It's bottoming out on this before it's ever hitting the sealing surface in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn some of this off on the lathe. That's what we're going to do. Hopefully that'll cure what ails us as far as our leak is concerned. All right, there we are. Cut it down, I don't know, probably better part of a ½ an inch. So we'll see if it engages our O-ring on our gauge now. So ran this 3/8 28 tap through our adapter we just turned down and installed it on the gauge. And we installed the gauge just in here temporarily to do a leak check. And since I drove it to work like this, it has leak checked fantastic. So you can see we're not bottoming out anymore with our threads. We got good engagement. We may even be engaging the O-ring inside. I'm not exactly sure, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't leak, and that's the end game goal. So we accomplished that. So yeah, we've been driving Higgins like this, looking danger in the eye with an exposed U-joint. But he is so much fun to drive. So we'll install the oil pressure gauge for really reels, and we'll go for a ride. So we had a bit of a braking faux pas with the Triumph on our shakedown runs. The bottom bolt of the caliper back here came out and allowed this to flip up under braking. So in fact, see, I moved it to the bottom just to get it home because the tire spins like this, and when you apply the brakes, at least it will drag it as opposed to try and flip it out, which is how it was when the only bolt holding it on was up top. But yeah, it beat up the rim pretty good. It made a horrific noise. We got some leak action here going on. Oh, I see. Maybe this hose might be bad. I don't know. We'll have to see. But this line is definitely bad. So I've got to replace that. So that's what we're going to attempt at our friendly AutoZone. Try and get a line. If I have to put a new end on it, I will. But hopefully I can get one close to that length. So we'll see. So we've got our holes plugged with a couple 3/8 fine thread bolts. And there's our line with this smashed. So probably when I was driving home, only half this caliper was working anyway. The half with the hose on it. Because this side is what was smashed. Okay, let's figure out. I bought a line way longer from AutoZone, but has the right fittings. and even has the right end. So we're going to salvage one end, and we're just going to figure out our length and cut this off and use our Eastwood brake line makerizer, not a sponsor. So right about there. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to give ourselves enough to cut off one end and still be able to salvage this line. That should be enough for one extra bubble if we need it. All right, let's get our cutter. Yeah, this is tough. Got too big of a bite. It's easier just to turn in my hand if you tighten this too tight than it is actually cut the tubing. Yeah. Be getting close. There we go. Okie doke. Let's go put a bubble on this end. You've seen this thing in action before in a previous video, but I always love showing this thing. This is probably one of the best purchases I've made. Let's get everything squared up. We're doing 3/16. Okay. Got both our fittings. It's always, I've done that so many times. Make a beautiful flare and forget to have the fitting on there. And for bubbles, that should be it. That did not form a bubble. Okay, we'll try it again. Okay, let's try it again. Here we go. That looks like a bubble. Well, let's see. And indeed it is. And as we say, that'll do, donkey. Alright. There's the factory end. There's our end. Okay, let's go install it. This side started hard to start for some reason. The same with the plug bolt I put in it. Let's try the other bubble. Although it shouldn't be a problem, but no. Need a wrench. Still didn't start. Just had to bend the line just a little bit because it was hitting the steering knuckle here, just enough to throw off our alignment. Okay, basically want to come along the front here and come down into here, not exceed this envelope because we're pretty close to the rim if we get above this. So right there, put this here, bring this in. I'm going to fast forward this some because we're running into the same problem over here. I'll tell you what, let's do this. It wants to start. Okay, we gave her a little what for there to get us some slack up top, and I think that might be enough to push us over. There. Okay. Dry this off and see if it leaks. Tight, tight. I also made us 2 new bolts yesterday. These are just grade 8 7/16 20. They were 1 3/4 long. That's what I had to do to get the shank, and then I turned them down to 1 1/2 inches. Let's see how we fit. I want full engagement without hitting the rotor. Before I even put the washer on. Okay, let's see. Oh, I can't turn it. Okay, let's see if you can see that. See, there's our threads sticking out right there. Oh, sorry, I'm hitting you. Right there. But we're not hitting the rotor, and then once we put that's with no lock washer. Once we put a lock washer on, we'll get even better clearance. So that's going to work out real nice. And see how we have all of our shank is in the caliper flange. We're not bottoming out on the threads when we thread into the steering knuckle. But we want shank instead of threads taking up the shear between the caliper and the mounting bracket, because threads will peen down and then you end up with slop. That's why I had to get the shank length I wanted, I had to go with 1 3/4 bolts and turn them down to the length we needed. Okay, bolt with a big stripe of blue Loctite and our lock washer. We're ready to secure this thing for really reals. Let's see what our clearance is now. Just barely protruding from the steering knuckle. I don't know if you can see that, but that is pretty much perfect. So let's do it again on the lower bolt. Okay, now we're ready to bleed. We're already getting gravity flow. Let's see if we have any fluid in here. No, I need to put some in. And what this does is it allows us to sit there and just pump the pedal. And it'll push the air out, but it won't draw air back in. Okay, close this up. Put that in there. All right, so I'm going to get you to watch for leaks while I go and put some pedal pressure on this thing. Let's hose this off. Okay, what'd you see? I guess if you saw something, you would have said something. So it must be good. It still looks dry. So I think we're good. Put our cap on. Fill up our reservoir. And we'll be trucking again. This is Higgins' public debut. And he's got his, I have my Higgins public debut shirt on. Let's go cruise around.